Okay, so last night you guys had the first example, the second example, right? Right? Okay. So we're going to do the third example right here. Okay. Example number 3. Okay. All right. It says below is a proposed alternative to the current federal income tax system. So this is not how taxes work. Do you hear me? This is not how taxes work, because students get confused by this. They're like, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I know, it's not how your taxes work. This is what they're saying could be how your taxes work if we did it differently. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is not how taxes work. Okay. They're saying this is how things should be if we lived in a different society. For the first $100,000 people make, every dollar is taxed at a rate of 10%. If they make over $100,000, then the amount over that $100,000 is taxed at a rate of 20%. So if they make $120,000 a year, then the first $100,000 would be taxed at 10%, and then the $20,000 that's over that would be taxed at 20%. Does that make sense? So they would be taxed at 2 rates at the same time. If they make, and that would be for the next $100,000 of income. Then if they make over $200,000 a year, then the amount that they make over $200,000 would be taxed at 30%. So let's say they make $265,000 a year. The first $100,000 would be taxed at 10%. The second $100,000 would be taxed at 20%, and then the $65,000, the next $65,000 would be taxed at 30%. So they would have 3 income tax rates for the amounts of money that they make. Do you see why they don't do this in taxes? Do we see why they don't? Okay. Yeah. It's kind of complicated. And then they say every dollar that is over $300 that they make is taxed at a rate of 40%. Find a piecewise function, T, that specifies the yearly federal income tax for a person that earns X dollars per year. So I'm going to say X represents the annual income that somebody has. That's important to know. And then the function T with X plugged into it is going to be the amount of taxes paid. Good so far? Yeah? Okay. All right. So the income amounts that we can have. Okay. So you could make no income. You could make somewhere between no income and 100,000. You could make somewhere between 100 and 200,000. You could make somewhere up to 300,000, and then like on to infinity, right? Well, not infinity. There's gonna, at some point you're gonna cap off your income. If you make an income that's between 0 and 100,000, you're gonna be taxed at 10%. Any amount of your income that's over 100 but less than 200,000 is gonna be taxed at 20%. Any amount of your income that is over 200,000 but less than 300,000 is going to be taxed at 30%. And then any amount of your income that is over 300,000 is going to be taxed at 40%. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have, and these are X values, right? If X is between this and this, if X is between this and this. If X is between this and this. If X is bigger than this. So we are going to have one interval, a second interval, a third interval, a fourth interval. So when we think about how many pieces we're going to have 4 pieces to our piecewise function. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so I'm going to say T of X equals, and I'm going to give myself space to write 4 pieces. Okay, so for the first piece, this piece right here, how do I write 10% of my income to figure out my taxes? How do I say 10% of my income? 0.1. And then how do I show that I'm multiplying that by my income to figure out my taxes? What did I say my income was when I started? 100,000, but what variable am I using? Because it doesn't have to be, yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly 100,000, right? It has to be between 0 and, okay. So we're going to say 0.1 times X, okay? And this is if X is between what numbers? Okay, so if X is between 0 and 100,000. So the 0.1 is how we do percentages. So the 0.1 is 10%. Okay. Now, if you are in this bracket right here, what can we assume has already happened? You have already paid 10%, and you've already paid 10% for $100,000. You are now past $100,000. So if you're in the second bracket, you've already done 0.1 times 100,000. You are above that. Nice work. That's a solid amount of income. You've made a lot of money. Okay, so if you are in this bracket, you have paid 10% of 100,000. You are now onto the 20% bracket. You are going to pay 20%. And what are you going to pay 20% of? Is it for 200,000 specific? Describe.
What's between 100,000 and 200,000?
Yeah, the amount between 100,000 and 200,000. So it has to be the amount that is over 100,000. So So we're going to say this is just the stuff that's over 100,000, and when we specify that, we write it like this. So we're saying this is just for the stuff that's over 100,000, and whenever we write that, this is how we do that. Okay, X minus 100,000. So 20%, but only for the stuff that's over 100,000. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and that is if the X values are between what and what? Okay, if X is between, oops, I'm gonna just write it like this. We're gonna figure out our equal to's in a second. 100,000, 200,000. Okay, and then do we need any equal to's in there? The second one. Okay, so we're not gonna say equal to 100,000 because 100,000 already has an equal to. Everyone see that? Okay. All right. How are your brains? Because I know that these problems look real complicated. Are your brains doing okay? They're pretty sucky. Is that what you said? Okay. All right. If you are into the third section, what has already happened?
You made 200,000. You paid 20%.
Yeah, you've already passed these two. So you've done 10% of 100,000. You've done 20% of another 100,000, right? Because from 100 to 200, that's still just $100,000. Now, if you wanted to, in this parenthesis, you could write 200,000 minus 100,000. I'm just simplifying it. Everyone understand that I just simplified it? Okay. So now that we're in the third bracket, what are we going to write? Say that one more time. I said for this parenthesis, I simplified 200,000 minus 100,000 and got 100,000. Yeah, I just said if I got past this bracket, that means I made over $200,000, which means I must have plugged in 200,000 for X to be able to get past it. Does that make sense? Okay, so now I'm going to say I have to be in the 30%, so I'm going to do 30%. X minus, wait, what number must I be over? I must be over 200,000. So I just need to figure out how high above 200,000 I am, because whatever over 200,000, that's how much I'm paying the 30% on. Okay, and this is happening if my income amount is between what and what?
200,000.
Okay, if X is between 200,000, 300,000, do we have an equal to in there?
Yes. It could be equal to 300,000.
Okay, put the equal to with the 300,000. Okay, and then what do I do? The last one. Okay, and so with this one, I'm going to say to have gotten to this last bracket, we must have made $100,000 and paid 10% on it. We must have made our second $100,000 and paid 20% on it. We must have made our third $100,000 and paid 30% on it. And so the way that we got this third $100,000 is we plugged in 300,000 minus 200,000. And now we are into the bracket where we have to pay 40%. And what are we paying 40% on?
300,000.
So we are going to pay 40% on any dollar amount that is above what?
300,000.
So we're going to write X minus 300,000. And then just like Colin said, this is if X is greater than 300,000. So any income you have above 300,000, that's when you got to pay that amount. Yes. I was running out of space. Yeah. Okay. So let's clean this up a little bit. We got 0.1 times 100,000. 10,000. Okay. So this number right here, this is 10,000. So we have our first line, we don't have to clean up at all. We've got 0.1x if x is between 0 and 100,000. Our second line is going to be 10,000 plus 0.2 times x minus 100,000. And I think I said in the video that some people even distribute this 0.2 and combine like terms. I don't like to do that because I think you lose sight of the formula. And one piece of good news, I don't know if I put in the video, this does not seem to be on the EOC. Yeah. Piecewise functions are, but these as application problems don't seem to be. Do we only teach you stuff that's on the EOC? Is the EOC the most important thing in your life? No, that's not why I teach this class. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher because students are going to take the EOC. And I got to prepare them. I didn't even know what the EOC was when I became a teacher. I lived in Oregon, for goodness sakes. They didn't even have an EOC there.
They didn't have to do final exams.
No, they had final exams, but it wasn't called an EOC. They don't do EOCs like this.
Is it easier there?
They have some, I don't even remember what it was, like when they did their assessments. But it wasn't an EOC and it wasn't for Math 3. Yeah, I handed it out yesterday. These are the notes from last night. We're just adding another example.
I don't know if you have anything. I picked up 2 papers back there.
I gave them to you. All right, so we got 10,000 for this one, and then we have the 0.2 times 100,000. 20,000. So 10,000 and 20,000 makes 30,000. It's a lot of taxes. I mean, if you make that much money, I guess you can afford it, but whew. Okay, and then 0.3 times 100,000 would be 30,000. So 10 plus 20 plus 30 would be 60. What an answer. Show that to your parents tonight. They'll be so impressed. They'll be like, my child is brilliant. They'll be like, what did you do today, honey? And you'll be like, look, I became Einstein. Okay, we got it. Mason, you texted me the answer so I know. Huh? Well, BS, you don't have to type to check the time. It's just on the screen. BS! Put it away, sir. Why are your headphones out? Put those away too, man. Goodness great. Put them out. But, well, they shouldn't be. Mason. All right, next problem. How much federal income tax would someone with an annual income of $150,000 pay? All right, which of the lines are we going to use? The second one. Okay, we're going to use this one. We are going to look at 10,000 plus 0.2 times 150,000 minus 100,000. So we're just using our little formula there. So they paid the full 10% on the first 100,000 they made, plus 20% of the 50,000. Can you guys see the two parts there? This is them paying the 10% on the 100,000. This is us figuring out the 20% on that 50,000. Yep. So how much do they pay? $20,000 equals. So they would pay $20,000 in taxes. Man, that's a lot of money. That's a whole down payment on a house. All right, how do you guys feel about that problem? They take a long time. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest, these are not my favorite. It's okay if they're not your favorite. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay. A salesperson makes $35,000 a year plus a 4% commission on all their sales up to and including $500,000. If they exceed $500,000 in sales for a calendar year, the salesperson's commission jumps to 6% for all their remaining sales over $500,000. The salesperson's total salary S for a given year is based on their total sales X. Write a piecewise defined function S of X. Okay, so what is the X? They told you. Total sales, okay. Okay, and then what is S? Yeah, the salary based on those sales, right? Okay. So what X values do they give us in the problem? What total sales do they talk about? There's a specific sales value that they mention. 500,000. They don't really give us a lot of information. They just say you could make less than 500,000 in sales, or you could make more than 500,000 in sales. Now that 35,000 is not your sales, right? Yeah, that's not an X value, that's a Y value. Yeah. So these are our X values, right? So this is kind of a nice piecewise function because there's only two options. You either made less than 500,000 in sales or you made more than 500,000 in sales. Okay? And then we always go down and we say 0, right? Because when you make less than 500,000 in sales, you don't make negative sales. You're not taking stuff from the store and giving it away. That would get you fired. You would no longer have a job. So we say 0 in sales. We're always going to, typically with the story problems, we cap them at 0. Okay, so over here, when we have our Y outputs, S of X or Y outputs, we don't start Y at 0, do we? Because you have a base income that you get even if you're a terrible salesman. What's your base income? 35,000. You get that even if you are the worst. You'll probably get fired if you don't make any sales, but I mean, you at least start somewhere. Yeah. Okay. And then if you make between 0 sales and 500,000 sales, what's your percentage commission? 4%. Okay. And if you make above 500,000 in sales, what's your commission? 6%. Okay. All right. So we're going to have S of X, my sales dependent on what I sell. What do you guys think we're going to do with that 35,000? How do we use that in the problem? That's our base. 35,000 plus. Okay, so this you get no matter what. It's not dependent on X. You just start with that. Okay. I want you guys to see if you can write the first piece. So can you write this? See if you can write that first piece. So we know it's 35,000 plus something. And then we know we're going to have an if something. Make sure when you write your equation that your 4% looks like a 4%, not a 40%. Make sure your decimal's in the right place. Anyone want to say what they put here? 0.04x, okay. 4% of what you sell. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. See if you can write the next line. Don't forget the 35,000. You need the 35,000, and then see if you can write the rest of it. So remember, if we made it to the second line, the first line already happened. Anyone want to share what they wrote? Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Plus 0.04 times what? Times what? Uh-huh. 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 Mm-hmm. If x is greater than, what did you say? 500,000. Nice. Oh, no parentheses. Okay. Whew. Perfect. Okay. Now what should we do? Uh-huh. Yeah, simplify. So we just need to figure out what this is so we can add it. So the first line is good. That one can be left alone. Okay, so we've got 35,000 plus 4% of 500,000, 55,000 plus 6% of whatever you sell over 500,000. Okay. How do we feel about that? Kind of okay? Okay. What is the salary of a salesman who sells $350,000 in a calendar year? Which one do we plug it into? First one. Okay, so we're going to say 35,000 plus 0.04 times 350,000. Do you guys feel like this salesman is making very much money? Yeah, I'm not really impressed with this salary. If I was selling a commission this high, I'd be like, yo, pay me higher, man. All right, if you sold $700,000, it's going to be in the second one. Okay, so we're going to do 55,000 plus 0.06. 700,000. If I sold $500,000 in product of something and got paid $67,000, I'd be real mad. Yeah. I'd be real mad. Unless I was like selling lifesavers or something. I don't know. That'd be more impressive. Man, give me more money. What are they, teachers? That was a good joke. Don't tell my boss. I can't put this online now. Man. Okay. We should be writing sentences, but I don't feel like it, so we're not going to. Okay. How do we feel about those? They're not fun, but do they kind of make sense? Do we kind of see how they are written? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So this says, during a particular year, are we listening? Are we listening? All right. During a particular year, the taxes owed T of X in dollars, filing separately with an adjusted gross income of X dollars is given by the piecewise function, blah. Use this function to compute and interpret each of the following in a full sentence. So T of X. You're plugging in this X value, which means what was your gross income?
40,000.
Okay, so if someone has a gross income, what does gross income mean? Without taxes. So if someone has a gross income of $40,000, okay, then if we want to figure out how many taxes they will pay, which one do we plug it into? The second one. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So 0.28 times 40,000 minus 17,900 is 2685. Okay. And when you guys plug that in, what do you get? They will. It says use write the following in a full sentence. They will pay $8,873 in taxes.
Is a teacher's salary more here than it is in Oregon?
No. No. All right. If someone has a gross income of $70,000, they will pay blank in taxes. I'll let you guys finish that one. The total cost in dollars of ordering graduation announcements is represented by the piecewise function. Determine the cost of ordering 25 announcements. Okay? So if we wanted to order 25 announcements exactly, which piece would we plug it into? No, you guys are going to finish that one. I'm just not doing it for you. All right. Yep. Okay, if we wanted to order 25 announcements, what would we do? Which one do we plug it into? The second one, because that's where the equal to is. Okay, so 1.25 times 25 plus 15. Okay, that would be $46.25. Okay, determine the cost of ordering 24 announcements. Okay, so 1.5 times 24 plus 15. Ooh, 51. Uh-huh. So if you order 25 announcements, it's $46.25. But if you order 24 announcements, it's $51. Ooh, I'm logging that away for later. Think about that. Look at the prices. Costs more to order less. It costs more to order less.
Oh, that's like Costco.
Well, yeah, sometimes it helps to buy in bulk. Yeah, and then you don't pay as much. Okay, so question 4 says, for what number of announcements, less than 25, is it financially better to purchase 25 announcements? Are you sure?
I mean, no.
Well, 24?
So what? So it's asking which number under 25 would you have to pay less than purchasing?
Yeah.
So do we have to guess and check this and like just plug in, or is there?
Is guess and check is the only way to do it? Well, what about 23? 23 also costs more than 25.
Try 20.
There it is.
20 doesn't. Is 20 the one that is better?
Try 21 as well. Try 21.
Yeah, okay.
So it is 20.
So if you buy 20 announcements, if you want 20 announcements, you should buy 20.
Wait, what?
If you want 20 announcements, it's cheaper to buy 20. 20 announcements cost $45. But 21 announcements cost $46.50, and it's cheaper to buy 25 of them. Because 25 announcements is $46.25. It's cheaper to buy them at Costco and just get more than buy the exact number you need.
Okay, I'm a little.
I just know that it's 20, but then when you put the words in there, I just
So what we're talking about here is that sometimes when you buy stuff in bulk, when you buy more of them, you get a better cost, you get a better price. And so what this question is getting at is it better to buy exactly the number that you need, or is it better to buy them in bulk so you can get them for cheaper? Okay? Now they're getting specific. They're saying, well, at which price? At which price does it switch over to be better to buy in bulk? That's what they want you to do. They want to know exactly when you switch. Exactly when should you buy the number you need, and when should you switch over and start buying in bulk to save money. And so that's what we're saying is if you were buying 20, you should buy exactly 20 because it's $45. But if you want to buy 21, you're going to pay more to buy 21. So then you should buy them in bulk then.
Okay, so that made no sense when you said if you want to buy 20, buy 20.
But if you want to buy 21, don't buy 21, buy 25. Okay, so we're going to say for 20, buy 20.
So this, like, piecewise function,
For 21, buy 25. It's cheaper. Now they're gonna make you do it again, but you're gonna do it for the number of announcements less than 40 instead of 25. So you're gonna do it with the second set.
so will all piecewise functions problems be about like money and stuff?
Not always. Okay. Does that make sense? Can we kind of see that? And here's the thing is, piecewise functions are often more representative of the real world because it's pretty common for you to have this scenario goes with this set of pricing, but this scenario changes the pricing. Like piecewise functions represent all cell phone plans. Cell phone plans always do that. You get this scenario if you're in this bracket, but you get another scenario if you're in this bracket, but another scenario over here. Like family plans do that. They do that all the time. So the reason we learn about piecewise functions is because they're real life. Do you write the piecewise function? No, it's usually programmed into a computer. But if you understand how the piecewise function works, you can manipulate the system. Does that make sense? So us understanding how this piecewise function works means we can manipulate the system to get a better price. If you understand how it works, you can manipulate the system to save money. Make sense? Now, if they understand how it works and you don't, they can manipulate you to get your money. Make sense? Okay. All right, so go ahead and work on this. If you get stuck, let me know. I'm going to look at the assignment and I will figure out which ones are full credit and which ones are extra credit. Okay, some of them will be extra credit, but I will let you know which ones. So we will not be doing the whole thing for regular credit.
Okay.